The world of football as we know it almost didn't exist. Imagine a time when your favorite team wasn't led by stars, but by strangers. When the players turned against the owners and the fans turned away from the game. For 24 dark days, the future of professional football hung by a thread. This is the story of the 1987 NFL players' strike, the season when football nearly died, and the rebellion that ultimately saved it. The 1980s were supposed to be the NFL's golden age. The league was printing money, television ratings were skyrocketing, and icons like Joe Montana, Lawrence Taylor, and Dan Marino had turned football into American religion. But behind the bright lights and roaring crowds, the cracks were already forming. Players were risking their lives and their futures every single Sunday for salaries that barely guaranteed a tomorrow. There were no real free agents, no fair bargaining rights, and the owners, well, they liked it that way. The system was rigged in their favor. But then, on one historic morning in September 1987, the players finally had enough. September 22nd, the NFL Players Association officially walked out. For the first time in 6 years, the league was at war with its own workforce. The stadiums fell silent. The players' demands were centered on one revolutionary idea: free agency. They wanted the right to choose where they played, to control their own destiny after giving their bodies to the game. But the owners? They had other plans. They weren't just going to wait it out. They were ready to break the union at any cost. While the league's biggest stars held picket signs outside the stadium gates, the owners made a bold and ruthless move. They decided the season would continue without them. They called it replacement football. Within days, stadiums filled not with NFL superstars, but with construction workers, college dropouts, and former players who'd been cut years ago. They quickly became known by a much harsher name, the Scabs. It was pure chaos. Fake teams playing in front of nearly empty seats. Drunken crowds booing men they didn't even recognize. It felt like a bizarre parody of the sport everyone loved. But the NFL machine, fueled by massive television contracts, rolled on. Week after week, these surreal replacement games aired on national TV. The result was a country divided. Half the nation laughed at the absurdity, the other half was furious. Everyone was asking the same question: had the NFL just destroyed itself? Meanwhile, the real players stood outside, often in the pouring rain, holding picket signs and watching strangers take their jobs. For legends like Lawrence Taylor, Jerry Rice, and Walter Payton, it became a brutal moral battle. Do you stay loyal to your brothers on the picket line? Or do you go back and save your career, your family, your future? The pressure was immense. Slowly, one by one, some stars began to break ranks. They crossed the picket line, desperate to get back on the field. And with each player that returned, the movement began to crumble. Public opinion, which was already shaky, turned fast. Fans hated the replacement players, but they weren't exactly cheering for the strikers either. Newspapers labeled the players as greedy. Talk radio hosts tore them apart day after day. And through it all, the NFL owners quietly smiled. They had successfully won the battle for hearts and minds. As attendance continued to fall and TV ratings dipped, the players started to realize the hard truth. They couldn't win this war forever. The owners had all the leverage. On October 15, 1987, after 24 long days, the strike officially ended. The players returned to the field, their unity shattered, their primary cause seemingly defeated. The owners had refused to bend. There was no free agency. No real progress. It was just business as usual. Or at least that's what it looked like on the surface. Because what felt like a crushing defeat would soon spark something much, much bigger. The strike had failed, but the fight was far from over. In 1989, the players found a new weapon, not on the picket line, but in the courtroom. They filed a series of antitrust lawsuits, arguing that the NFL's total control over player movement was illegal. After years of intense legal battles, in 1993, victory finally came. the NFL and the players reached a new landmark collective bargaining agreement. For the first time in league history, unrestricted free agency was real. It was the dawn of a completely new era. The balance of power has shifted forever. That single change reshaped everything about the league. The legendary Reggie White became the first true superstar free agent, signing a massive deal with the Green Bay Packers. Stars could finally chase championships, or the biggest paycheck, on their own terms. Old dynasties were broken up. New ones were born. From the ashes of the 1987 strike, the modern NFL we know today emerged a league built on player freedom, empowerment, and billion-dollar choices. But the cost of that victory was enormous. Hundreds of players lost their careers in the fallout. Some were unofficially blacklisted, never to play again. Families broke apart under the financial and emotional pressure. And to this day, many of the replacement players still live with the scars of those 3 strange weeks in 1987. They were mocked and then forgotten. Yet, without their controversial role, the NFL might not have been forced to change at all. Every touchdown you see today, every massive contract that gets signed, every player who has the power to control his own destiny, it all owes something to 1987. That was the year the players proved that the game truly belongs to them. Not to the owners, not to the networks, but to the men who put their bodies on the line every Sunday and refused to be silenced. The NFL almost died in 1987, but in that near-death experience, it was reborn. Stronger, richer, and more player-driven than ever before. From picket lines to primetime, from empty stadiums to billion-dollar spectacles, this was the strike that changed everything. The league survived, the players evolved, and the game of football became immortal. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment below with which forgotten FL moment you think I should cover next. Because, as we just saw, sometimes the greatest plays happen off the field.